Okay, so it's D. D doesn't make sense. All council attendances. All council, does that make sense? All council law attendances. Council law meeting attendances, that's what we mean, right?
So it's been changed.
Okay, that's all councillor meetings, all council law. Sorry, what are we? Number D, all council meeting attendances. I mean, that could include members of the public. What does that mean? It means all council
Elected.
all councillors meetings. Isn't that what we mean? That's what I mean. That all council members meeting attendances, right? Insert the word members. You mean council members? Look, this is elementary, surely, as to what do we mean? We mean council members, right?
Yes, so this is actually, been amended since I was looking at them. So it's actually about elected members
Which covers everyone.
and mana whenua as well.
Yep.
That all elected members meetings attendances are recorded in the annual report.
Yes.
So, because I also include, so the community board ones as well. So in terms of those first 2, 3, that does not, so if we put councillor in there, or elected member.
So you mean elected members?
Yes.
Elected members of council or that includes members of community boards as well.
Yeah, if you
all
put
of them
elected.
are, their attendance is
Yeah,
reported.
so that covers, I think
that's
D now covers them all, but also, it also needs to include mana whenua,
Well, what do we?
whether
Do you
appointed.
want that separately or?
Maybe we can do that as a separate one.
Will I put it separately? Might help. Maybe. That all amount of.
Maybe
All right, is that okay?
Appointed to,
All mana whenua appointees. They are all appointees. I just want to be clear that we don't upset anybody.
mana whenua,
Cara, are you happy? Do you think
it's
the
been
wording of that's
changed to
clear
how
enough?
it was before.
I have a problem with elected members, which is because community board members' expectations of attendance are surely different because they're not paid to attend all meetings.
It's not,
It's highly voluntary whether they come.
Look,
It's very
look,
unfair that they get marked.
look. I'm entirely in the hands as to whoever moves it controls what's in it. I just want to be sure what is being moved as the starting point. All right.
in all honesty, when I went to get my cup of tea, there was different wording here, so it's been changed since then. So now we're actually doing this on the fly again.
Well, what do you want, Jocelyn? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
maybe we need to have a recess for a few more minutes, please. I'm sorry.
That's not up to you, Jocelyn.
No, I'm not prepared to do that. I
Okay,
think
we'll
we're-
sit here then do it. Okay, that's fine.
Well, what do you want? Just tell us what you want your motion to be. I think
So
I'd
it's all
like to
elected members' attendances to the meetings they're appointed to, which will actually mean that, I don't expect community board members to come along to council meetings if they're not appointed to it. I don't expect that at all.
Just put to their respective committees.
Yes.
all elected members' meetings at their respective committees, all right?
Yeah.
That's what you mean. Is that
Yes,
okay?
yes, correct.
And at their respective committees are recording the. Now, is that clear, right?
Could I just create confusion? You
Thanks.
can also flip that around and say that each committee shall record the attendance of appointed members or something.
They do.
Fine.
They
It's
do.
all put in the minutes.
Right.
So it's all recorded. It's just a matter of putting it in the annual report. That's all, right?
So what is this doing? Right. Okay.
One place. And that part, okay. That all appointed members, and, okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm happy to have my attendance recorded, even though I don't get paid very much. Anyway,
Well, it's more than committees, it's subcommittees, because in the 23-24 financial year, we had subcommittees and community boards.
Has this been moved and seconded?
yeah, it's been moved by Jocelyn and was seconded by Glenn, right? Look, look, it stands as it is, all right?
Okay, and their respective, the committees then change it to meetings. Does that cover?
No,
Well, that's covered, it's all.
I'm talking about D here.
Meeting attendance is at,
We actu-
all elected members' attendance is at their respective committees, that's what it really means, right?
Yes,
You can cut out the two
right.
meetings, right?
And then when it comes to E, appointed mana whenua members.
Only mana whenua, not other members.
No, it would cover us as well.
Because elected members are covered in D, mana whenua are covered in E.
Well, and look, David, let us be recorded too.
Yeah, I
you know?
know,
Yeah, I'd be happy.
Okay,
I'd be happy. It's
okay,
recognition.
okay, that's fine.
I mean, don't even report our remuneration, which is quite insulting, really. Okay.
Okay, then,
Okay,
okay,
well,
then
are
we
we-
move down to,
Jocelyn, are you happy with the wording of that as your move, as your
Yes, yeah,
resolution?
and then
right?
F.
And Glenn? All right.
and then maybe there needs to be some clarification about what governance funding actually is.
Oh, I think that's understood, isn't it? It's the grant that goes from council funds to the mana whenua.
You need to come up with some words if you want to change it.
I'm not saying I do, I'm just saying that so people actually know
I
what
think
that governance funding
I
means.
suggest that is clear, Jocelyn. all
Okay,
right?
right, that's
All
good.
right, okay. I will,
I'd like to propose that they're taken separately, please.
I'll take them all separately, absolutely. But we should wait until we're ready to do A and B, all right? Well, no, we can do D, E and F now if you like, right? Let's do it now to get it out of the way. Is everybody happy with that? Yes, Liz?
Just how wide are we taking this? Because we have things like the public art panel and so on, you know, I mean, do we need to tighten up the wording to make sure we're not including every jolly committee within council where we have people?
It's just the meetings that are detailed in the governance
I'd
section.
like to foreshadow that I'd like to move an amendment to these recommendations.
That's fine, you may do so, yes. Please foreshadow it. right?
Yeah,
Just so we can-
and I can explain it when I move it, but to change 2023-24 to 2024-25 in each D, E and F.
Well, that's very clear. Okay, all right. Bernard, yes. Let's get this out of the way, please.
I'm only speaking as far as community boards go, but I think it's important because I know the mayor says it's voluntary, but the point is we appoint certain people to the council and other the strategy and operation committee at the beginning of the term, and they have an expectation to attend these meetings because they get valuable information. If community board members don't attend, that should be publicly notified. Secondly, I could still get that information through an OIA
So you're agreeing with, you want to, look,
about community boards, yeah.
well, look, I think that's, what you're saying is very clear. I want to put them to a vote, all right? Okay? I think it's pretty good, okay. Are the issues, oh, I know, I'll do that. That comes when we move the motion, Janet. You can move your amendment, all right? Sorry, oh, okay. B. So who's?
Cam.
Cam, I can't
Yeah.
see you there, Cam.
Sorry.
Right. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd actually like to agree with Bernie on that, and that I don't think it will hurt for the community board members' attendance to be shown because at the start of the term, it was quite clearly stated who was the community board person that was going to attend that committee and who their backup is. And to be honest, as community board chair, it's actually sort of useful to ensure that my members are actually going to the meetings that they say they are.
All right.
From a management point of view.
Okay. So, it's a clear view. I mean, I think the issue's clear, really. But if you want to tell us how you're going to vote, make a speech and then tell us how you're going to vote, that's fine. Okay. Glenn, your turn.
Yes,
Yes, it has.
we're in debate.
D, E, and F.
Are we in debate?
D.
Moved, seconded.
So I've requested to take them separately.
Yes, I'm going to take them separately. D, E, and F, I presume, have been moved by Jocelyn and Glenn.
Yes.
Have we agreed on that?
Yes.
I propose to take them separately. All right. Okay.
I support this motion, and I'll just tell a little story why. Not long after, about halfway through the first year of our triennium, I was approached by an ex-staff member who said, "Oh, you're the member who doesn't attend meetings." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said to me, "I've heard from other elected members, you're the member that doesn't attend meetings." And I was really upset because my attendance had been like 95%. I think I'd missed one meeting through no fault of my own. So what I actually did, because, you know, it was an attack on my integrity, I did an OIA of everyone who attended meetings. The only way I could get that information was through an OIA. I received that information and I've kept it 100% confidential ever since. But it was for my own soul, I guess, that for whatever reason, another elected member had been putting aspersions on my character by saying I wasn't attending. And interestingly, about 4 months after that happened, a really good friend of mine rang me up, laughing his tits off, excuse me, saying, oh, the councillor who doesn't attend any meetings. And I think it's important for the public to know who's turning up and who's not. I'm happy to shine light on it. And if I don't turn up to meetings, then the community who's voted me in, I think, has a right to hold me account to that. So that's why I'm supporting this.
Look, I'm just trying to say, I think the issue is a clear-cut one, and we could go to a vote unless people want to speak more. Janet, the Mayor?
So it's not that clear cut to me, which is why I'd like to move an amendment, and then if I have a seconder for that, then have a debate
Tell us
around
your
it.
amendment, please.
So I'll do all three, seeing as we seem to be all debating all three. I'd like to change elected members to councillors in D. And then in E, I would like to put 24, 25.
So that change only applies to E, right?
Yeah, and F.
And again for F.
Yeah.
So what's,
And now I'd probably need a seconder.
is there a second to that? That narrows the scope of D and defers the issue for E and F, right? Yeah.
I'll second.
Seconded by the Deputy Mayor?
Right, so
Right.
right of introduction on my amendment.
Yes.
Is that all right?
Yes, please
Yeah.
go ahead.
So
That's to D. We're talking about D.
I do agree that it's quite clear cut to record councillor attendance at meetings, and there's no reason why we can't do that this time around. As for community board members, this is the first change. As for community board members, when I was chair of the Paikakariki Community Board, my work was cut out in my community dealing with local issues in Paikakariki, and at the beginning of the triennium, I made an oath to the community of Paikakariki. That's what community board members do, and that's what they're required to do. And I worked my fingers to the bone doing that. Did that mean I attended all the council meetings and should be judged whether I attended them or not? I looked through every agenda, and if there was anything that was important to Paikakariki, I would attend. So I think that just is an example of why we need a little bit of a discussion around whether that should be recorded in the public for people to point to. The other thing is that community board members aren't remunerated the same way that councillors are, which automatically changes the expectation. When you're at the beginning of the triennium, you might have a very busy full-time job and be a community board member. You might not choose to do that as a councillor. We also have meeting times that shift and they change at very short, sometimes at, at short notice. We still follow our obligations under our standing orders in terms of notice of meetings, but very often there's not much more notice than that. So I've got no problem with councillors being recorded on their attendance at all meetings. For everything else, it's a little bit more complicated, and I think we need to have a bit more of a long discussion about it, because we've just had an intimation from the appointed members of this committee. I'm now kind of debating the other two, that they're happy for their attendance to be recorded, but we have all sorts, as Councillor Coe pointed out, we have all sorts of representatives on different committees, and it's a little bit unclear and murky what that means at the moment. As for mana whenua, we're just embedding this system. It's the first annual report where we've really dealt with it, or maybe the second, but there have been periods where there hasn't been an identified representative on committees, and yet there are individuals named in the report. Now, without changing the rest of the report to reflect that it's a responsibility for the entire iwi and taking those names out, there's kind of a miscommunication in the report that those people were expected to turn up to every meeting for that period of the year when actually there weren't even an appointed member for a period of time.
Okay.
So I just think that we need to tie-ho. We've only kind of had today to think about this, and we've also got some discussions coming up about our partnership with iwi. That's the time to have this discussion, and that's the time to have an agreement as with our iwi partners about how they would like to be reported and how they would like that to be reflected. For us to move a motion on the fly today is completely inappropriate. We just need to have a bit more of a discussion around it. So what I'm recommending here is that straight away we put councillors in, that's easy, that's clear cut, and then we have a conversation with community board members, appointed members and mana whenua about how that might be reflected next year, because it's not simple. And then we can just move on today. There's another stab at this when it comes to council, if people are really going to die in a ditch about it, but I don't think we're ready to commit to putting that information in today without knowing a bit more about how it looks. So hence the reason for my amendments. I look forward to your support.
Thank you, Janet. Lawrence, you're seconded. You want to make a comment?
My only comment is I've obviously have agreed with the amendments that the Mayor has put forward. I think as councillors we have a clear responsibility and also a requirement under standing orders to attend meetings, and if we do that without apology for X myriad, there's a consequence that's outlined there. I also think, and I agree with Councillor Cooper, that there is a transparency issue, that we do need to be seen to be attending and doing our roles well at meetings. This doesn't take into account the other important part of our roles, which is attendance at workshops and briefings. Committees are one part of our role, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that isn't captured here. So I think if you're judged on one attendance at committee meetings, that only paints part of our picture as well. So I think there's a broader conversation about how you record in an annual report the performance of councillors in particular, because I think we should be held to pretty high account for doing our jobs well for our community, because the community expects us and should expect us to do them well.
Thank you, Lawrence. Your light's on. Jocelyn, do you want to speak?
Can I?
Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon, Liz. I don't. You are. Yep.
Yeah. Look, I don't have a problem with reporting attendance, and I think it's a really good idea to do that, because when it comes to election time, we need to report back to the community and just they need to be able to see how well we've performed in our role. I think there's ways around the issues that the Mayor has raised in the sense. Oh, what's going on? So I think as far as community board members are concerned, my understanding is their attendance at council meetings is kind of optional, like they're invited to attend. So I think we need to distinguish, if we're reporting back on this information, we need to distinguish between community board meetings and those other meetings to which they're invited, but which they're not expected or necessarily required to attend. And I think that deals with that issue. And as far as the reporting on mana whenua representatives, I think it's not a question of naming the people, but just noting, was there a representative from that particular iwi at the meeting? And I do think we actually need that information anyway as part of the review that we're doing. There is a grumbling dissatisfaction, I know, amongst some elected members that we are paying mana whenua roughly 50,000 a year each, and there has not been a corresponding attendance at the meetings, and I think that's an issue that needs to be resolved somehow, probably as part of this review. It's a matter of whether we publish that information in the annual report or deal with it in another way. But I think it's something that does need to be addressed, and I think that's possibly the reason why Jocelyn has put the motion there, is to shine a light on that particular issue. That is something that it does need to be resolved. So I think we can disassociate it from the specific person and just say, you know, was there a representative from that iwi there or not? Community board members just really reporting on their attendance at community board meetings would be probably more the ones that they're specifically appointed to, as opposed to ones they're invited to. So that would be my kind of take on it. And if we had those kind of nuances around it, I'd be in support of those motions.
Number F, but anyway, I said I'd put them separately, but the comments come in on all three. That doesn't really matter. Let's try and progress things. Next is Bede, right? Bede, yes.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree and I don't agree. I think the recommendation as it stands is a good one and I'm supportive of it. The question is, should we include community boards? I would say yes. I think that it can be carrot and stick. I think probably the reasons I've heard so far have been reasonably sort of stick reasons. The carrot reason would be for some people, because they're not remunerated to be at the committees, they can at least know that their attendance is being recorded and that's something that they can stand on. So yeah, it's a brownie point for them. It's not just a negative. Perhaps we could record the attendance of community board members at community board meetings. I don't know, but I think that there's no reason not to include community boards. If a community board member doesn't feel they can commit to the committee, then they can be removed from it. That's simple. And another community board member could attend in their place, or the community board can just not appoint a member to that committee. So there's ways you can manage that without sort of harming people. So I think it's worth keeping community boards in, or putting them in.
Yeah, look, appreciating, thank you, Chair, that I'm not on this committee, so I won't be voting. Interesting conversation. I think I just want to point out, to add into the conversation, we had a representational review, the last one. Part of that conversation was the removal of community boards or keeping community boards. What came back is community boards were retained and one was added. You know, whether that's working out or not, who knows, but aspect of things. And coming into the triennium, there was a lot of, should we say, fire with regards in the belly with regards to wanting to be involved from a community board perspective and everything as such. I'm just questioning whether perhaps there's maybe been some things that have worked and haven't worked in that space, and just flagging that maybe it's time for a review of that or a conversation with the community board chairs with regards to whether having representation on the various committees and that sort of is working or isn't working as such, rather than just saying there's a commitment to be there and that sort of stuff. But at some point it should be reviewed as to, okay, is that as a system working as such, or isn't it as such? Is it a waste of people's time? Because taking on board, the community board members are only remunerated to a certain level, and I don't think the remuneration really covers the attendance of these committee meetings as such. Not saying that we should change that. That was a request that came from the community boards. But if it's not working for community boards, then we need to review that. Or if it is working for community boards, we need to review that. But at some point, it does need to be discussed. But I think being transparent in any way that we that this falls out, I noticed there's an IA request of the OIA request. Don't know if it was yours, Coops, but there was even breakdowns of workshops and all that sort of scenario there as well. I don't think we need to go that far, but I think, yeah, I just wanted to put that in and flag it that maybe it's time to actually have a chat about a lot of these sorts of arrangements. We're going to be discussing the Mana Whenua one shortly and reviewing all that as well, so that may change.
Thank you, through the chair. Just point out that on some of the committees, the community board members have voting rights, and that changes the whole structure of the committee, and potentially you could have a community board block that challenged the committee. So there's differences in the levels of how a community board member operates on a particular committee, and I think that the ability to vote and influence any decision made is possibly quite important to recognise and therefore report back on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I still stand by the original recommendations that I moved, and the reasons for that are as follows. So, in terms of elected members on community boards, as you all know, I've been on community boards in the past, and I know, for example, at the very beginning of this triennium, the Waikanae Community Board, no doubt like a number of other community boards, appointed members of their community boards to attend various committees. And so they've undertaken to attend these meetings, or a deputy. So that, and I think we have all those names. So it's already there. And if you really went into the minutes of the meetings, you can see who has turned up or not. So they may not get paid, but that is part of their, I suppose, the work that they do, and being a conduit between council and the community boards. Because sometimes the ward councillor who's appointed to the community board may not be present. When it comes to our mana whenua representatives, so this is actually the second triennium where mana whenua have actually been appointed to our various committees, and obviously they can vote around the council table. So this is actually not actually that new. When you actually look up the minutes of the various meetings, you can see what individual mana whenua members came along or not. But in terms of what would go into the annual report, it doesn't actually worry me that they're not individually named, because there's a choice of three, up to three. So I think it's important that those people who've been appointed to various committees are held to account to come along to them, particularly when they have voting rights, and that is how we make our decisions going forward in our committees. So I would like, and I think that the information is all there, and whether maybe we need to tweak that, potentially tweak it for the next annual plan. Maybe we can have more of a conversation, but I think all the information is there. There's no reason why we cannot do this now. In terms of F, I think it's important to understand, I suppose, some of the financial implications for some of the committees that are beyond what our elected member amounts are. So thank you for that.
Okay, but look, I want to move on. We don't need any more repetition, but you have the right to reply.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be very brief, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. I just want to point out that we've had a really interesting conversation, and all of it points to us needing more time to dig into this, to discuss it with other elected members, to discuss it with mana whenua, and work out the best way forward, which is all I'm suggesting with the amendments. The councillor one, we've done it before, really simple, just do what we did before. For me, if F goes through, I will want other parts of this report changed, and that starts to be quite complicated. So I would encourage elected members to take this step by step. There's no hurry. This is the first triennium where we've had this arrangement with mana whenua. So I would ask that you please support the amendments as I've put forward.
I now propose to move the amendment, which is to delete the word elected members and replace it with the word councillors, moved by the Mayor, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All those in favour will please say aye. All those against will say no. We better have a show of hands, please, so we know where we stand. Show of hands, please. All those in favour, please raise their right hand or 1, 2, 3. Yes, supporting the amendment. All those against will say. That appears to be 3 all.
You need to vote.
You want the chair to have a casting vote?
Mm-hmm. You get a vote.
I get a vote anyway.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
God,
a casting
this is the
vote.
first vote we've had. God, what do I do? Can I get under the table? All right. I will vote in favour. I will vote in favour of the amendment. All right.
Have we got the 4 against?
Yes. Yeah. So we've got
The amendment.
4 was the mayor.
Once the amendment's carried, I put the amended motion, right?
David Cochrane.
No, we're doing it one by one. This is D we're doing now, all right? So what have we got? So all those in favour of the amendment D, raise their right hands again, please. 1, 2, 3,
In you.
and me.
And the chair. And then
Very
against,
uncomfortable for me, anyway. I'm paid a lot of money to be uncomfortable, all right?
Against
Okay,
Councillor Coe.
okay,
Councillor Pravanov and Councillor Cooper.
okay. So the motion is carried, all right? So I'll now put the full motion, D, the amended motion D, because you still have the right to vote against the amended motion, right? All those in favour will... Well, all right. You voted for the amendment, but you could vote for the amendment, but
oh, this is the amendment.
right. So this was the amendment. Now I will put D as amended, right?
No, because D, that is D.
All right, I'll put D. Okay, that is D. Okay, I will now put motion D. All
New
over.
D.
The new D, the new amended D. Are we clear what we're doing, right? Oh well, I'm only the chair, so how would I know?
The amendment got accepted, now you're voting on whether the whole
The
motion.
substantive.
That's right.
motion.
No. We're doing it step by step, and we're, as far as look, this is the chair's view. The chair's ruling. We are voting on D. We have just approved the amendment to D. The question now is whether you're prepared to vote for the amendment D, for, resolution D as amended. All those in favour will please raise their right hands. 2. Against? 3. Well,
I propose the amendment to councillors, right?
yes.
But I prefer to have nothing.
Okay, so
I'll
I think,
vote in favour, it's easy.
All those are voting in favour of the amended D. Right. 1, 2,
favour.
3,
So,
4.
so, Mayor.
All right, that's carried. That is carried. Okay.
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 So then, surely, Anna, surely we just, we vote on the motion of the E amendment, and if there's a seconder, then you vote on that, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. Is
So
there?
you need to move it.
Well,
Okay.
well,
Oh, come on.
They were moving
No,
on
no.
3.
We have voted in favour of D as it is set up there. All right. That's done. Number E. There's an amendment from the mayor, seconded by the deputy mayor.
Now you vote on it.
Now we'll vote on the mayor's amendment. I will not ask for further speeches. I think it's all been well covered. All those in favour of the amendments moved by the mayor, which defers the issue by 1 year in a sense, right? All those in favour, please raise their right hands.
Mayor, deputy mayor, the mayor, deputy mayor. Yes. That's so 4 is the mayor and the deputy mayor.
And against?
Against is Councillor Pravanov, Councillor Cooper, David Cochrane, and Councillor Coe, and I'm not sure what you voted on.
Well, and the chair is entitled to abstain, isn't he? I could leave the room. I don't want to vote particularly and use a casting vote anyway. Anyway, it's clear. So that is lost by 2 to 4.
Yes. 1, 2, 3,
That is
5.
lost. So it will. The original part stands. All right. Which is it will apply in 20234. Right. And now I'll put the amended motion. No, it wasn't carried. So that's the original motion. So I put the original motion, which is number E as it stands. All those in favour raise their right hands, please. 1, 2, 3. Against? 1. We are okay. He's abstaining. Okay, it's carried 3-1. Number F. The detail of the governance of the Mana Whenua funding, detailed either in 2024 or 2023. Moved by the mayor. The amendment moved by the mayor, seconded by. Is it seconded by the deputy mayor? To do it next year, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour of the amendment, please raise their right hand.
So 4.
1,
mayor,
2, 3,
deputy,
4.
Mayor, deputy, and Cochrane, yep.
4 against. 3.
Pravanov.
The amendment's carried 4-3.
Yep, that's one. Yep, 4-3.
I'll now put the amended motion as to whether we do it all, in fact. Okay, all those in favour, please raise your right hands. Well, no, you've
No, you've just done it. You've just done it.
Okay.
You've just done it. The motion was carried and then you voted on the motion.
I do apologise for being lost. I didn't expect this when I took on the job.
The motion was carried and then they voted on it. So,
Yes.
They
David's finished.
voted to make the amendment to the motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's voted on that recommendation.
But then they might decide that they don't want it at all.
David, the amendment was passed, but then you put the motion.
That's what I'm saying.
Substantive motion.
That's what I want to do. I want to put the substantive motion as amended.
Yep.
There it is there. There it is. I'll put F as it's there. All those in favour, please raise their right hand. 1, 2. All those against? 2, 1. That's not much, is it? You're voting on that? Yes.
On F.
As it is on the screen.
Sorry? In other words, once a motion is amended, it's a new motion, and people can decide whether to vote for the amended motion, right?
Yes.
All those in favour of F?
I know, because she doesn't want it in there at all.
No, there's no motion at all.
She knows what she's doing.
If you vote against it, nothing happens, all right?
Okay.
So take your best or worst or whatever, all right? All those in favour of F as it stands there, please raise their right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 5. All those against? 1. 1. The chair abstains. That motion is carried. All right. There we are. Let's see what's there. D, E, and F are there. They have been, those are what we have adopted. All right? Okay, let's move on. Thank you very much. Okay.
And what about A,
Do we
B,
need to
and
do
C?
A to C?
Well, hang on. We haven't finished yet.
No,
We haven't finished the rest of the... We got slightly diverted on an important issue, but there are still other things to talk about in the annual report. Okay, so we come back to the body of the annual report. We haven't specifically decided to separately address the summary report, but I presume we'll take all of this together, really, for ease, right? So
I'm
we are
happy to
now
move
back
this,
on the annual
Chair.
report and the simplified, the summary annual report for any further debate or discussion on issues there, right? Anybody?
I'm happy to move A, B and C, Mr Chair.
Right. Is there a seconder? What's the discussion? Moved by the deputy, seconded by Councillor Coe, right? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay.
Right of introduction.
Any further discussion?
Yes.
Please. Yes, sure. Go
I'll
ahead.
take my right of introduction. Thank you.
Yeah.
Firstly, wanted to just read this through, this report. It's a pretty comprehensive one. It's a long reading one. I'm glad there's a summary one that's a little bit shorter. But firstly, congratulations to the staff on a clean audit report. I know in the context of this country, there's a lot of councils that haven't even gone to audit on some of their paperwork this year, and so it's really great for us to be able to say we've got a clean audit report. I also note that this is the biggest CapEx budget performance in terms of percentage from budget, 91%. That's our highest that we've recorded as a council in terms of delivery, which I think signals really well to our community that we are planning well for future growth and development and making sure we have the right infrastructure in place. So again, congratulations to the staff. The third point that I'd make in terms of that is our credit rating holding. As was made clear in conversation earlier from the CE, we are one of the few councils in New Zealand that's held our credit rating. And so again, congratulations to this council table for the decisions we made around the annual plan that formed this reporting on, and our decisions in terms of the long-term plan for future, because that has allowed that. So a big thank you to staff. I'll also note some of the comments that have been made around explanations and footnotes to make it more understandable. Having no real financial background myself out of not-for-profit, it is still possible to understand what this reads without any sort of accounting background, if you're willing to take the time to read the information that's presented. So I think there is ability to improve, but at the same stage, if you want the information, it's all there, which is great. I also just want to comment on, we had a submission that was presented here by a member of the public who was going to come and speak into this report, particularly the audit report, Mr. Andrews, and I'm grateful that our auditor made reference to the primary questions that he had, which were around this expenditure of the Better Off funding, and that there was nothing to be seen here was really the comment there. So I just want to make that note as well, in regards to the questions that Mr. Andrews was raising as well. So thank you, staff.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. Okay. Well, Lawrence has moved A, B, and C. Any further discussion? I'll put the motion. Second, who was the seconder?
Councillor Coe.
Oh, Councillor Coe. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. I think that is carried. Okay. Well. Well, actually, it was an interesting discussion, but I think we could have done it a bit more quickly. Anyway, so now we move to the minutes of the last meeting. Page 40. I have got a comment on this. Page 40. The minutes of the last meeting held on the 16th of August. I've raised just a concern with page 45, 9.8. where it says the Chair, David Shand, introduced the item, provided an overview of the proposed forward work programme, noting minor amendments. I wanted that minor amendments thing actually clarified a bit to say what I was doing, and I think somebody has written something, if that could be put on the screen, right? Okay. That's right. So look, this I just wanted to record in the minutes so that we're clear that we have expanded our role, and that may, in some cases, may require a confirmatory amendment to our terms of reference. But we have picked up emergency management and recovery issues. We have picked up credit rating and water discussions, and I just think that should be noted because it's relevant to our future work program. They will come on at appropriate times, not every meeting, and I just want it recorded that that's what we have done. I just didn't want it left up in the air as sort of saying. What did I say? Suggested by the chair. So I mean that's what I want recorded, so that we're actually clear when we read the minutes that we have an expanded role going forward, and this may require, Darren, some change to some review anyway of our actual terms of reference, and that could be done and brought back at an appropriate, taken to the council, whoever, at an appropriate stage. All right. But this is what, in fact, we have been doing, and I think there's been agreement to do it. I'm not sure that it's all covered by a change, an appropriate change yet to the terms of reference. Any discussion, any problem with that? No. Okay, I move that, well, would somebody move? I'll move that as amended, the minutes be adopted. Yeah. Seconded by Councillor Coe. Yeah. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Okay.
Sorry,
move into
Mr.
public
Chair.
excluded meeting. Where's that bloody resolution? Sorry.
Sorry, I just had a comment on the minutes. Yeah, I just wanted to point out. Yeah, no, it was quite a crucial matter. On the first page of the minutes, where it says in attendance, just wanted to note that Mr. Bernie Randall is listed first. So, just.
Who's that bloke? That bloke called Afflebeck Lauder. Right. Anyway. But it's very appropriate, Bernard. Everybody's happy to see you listed first, okay? That's cool. Okay, thank you very much, Pete. Okay, you don't want to make an amendment, do you, Pete? I take it, no. Okay, but thank you very much. Okay, now where's my bit of paper here? Thank you. All right. Moved by the Mayor, seconded by David Cochrane. All in favour, say aye. Carried. We are now in public excluded meeting.
We're just going to give us 2 seconds,
Yep.
David. We're just going to turn off the live stream.